The icy waters of Cedar River roared through the narrow canyon, swollen by 3 days of winter rain. Marcus Hayes gripped the steering wheel of his rusted pickup truck, squinting through the windshield as he navigated the treacherous mountain road. His 8-year-old daughter Emma slept peacefully in the back seat, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. Through the storm, Marcus spotted something that made his heart stop. A luxury SUV teetering on the edge of the collapsed bridge, its rear wheels spinning helplessly over the churning rapids below. Without thinking, he slammed on the brakes. Inside that sinking vehicle was a woman he'd never met, but whose identity would soon shake the very foundation of his humble world. How could a simple act of courage lead to a fortune beyond imagination? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. 6 hours earlier, the Hayes household stirred to life in the pre-dawn darkness. Marcus stood at the kitchen counter, stretching dollars into breakfast the way a master craftsman might stretch leather, carefully, skillfully, knowing exactly how far things could bend before breaking. 2 eggs split 3 ways, the last heel of bread toasted to mask its staleness, a bruised apple carved with surgical precision to remove the soft spots. "Daddy, I'm a snow angel." Emma bounded into the kitchen, her nightgown billowing as she twirled. Even at 8, she possessed that rare gift of finding joy in empty spaces where others might see only lack. Morning sunshine. Marcus caught her mid-spin, planting a kiss on her forehead. "Hungry?" "Starving. Is Grandma making her special pancakes today?" "You know she will." He set the plate before her, watching as she divided her portion of eggs in half, sliding part back toward him. A ritual they'd performed so many times it had become wordless. "I'm full from dinner," he lied smoothly, pushing the plate back. "Growing. Girls need protein." Emma studied him with those Sarah blue eyes, wise beyond her years, but she knew better than to argue. Some battles she'd learned were won through surrender. While she ate, Marcus spread the bills across the scarred oak table. Like a losing poker hand. Electric, 2 months behind. Water, final notice. Mortgage. The letter he couldn't bear to open, its red stamp visible through the envelope. Foreclosure, 30 days. The words might as well have been written in fire. His phone buzzed. "Hayes." "Here, Marcus, it's Jim. Listen, about next week's hours." The familiar tightness gripped his chest. "How bad?" 20 hours, max. "I'm sorry, brother. Weather's got commercial projects on hold. I'm cutting everyone back." "I understand." Marcus kept his voice steady, though his free hand clenched into a fist. "Thanks for letting me know, Daddy." Emma appeared at his elbow, her father's day card, crumpled from being carried everywhere, clutched in her small hands. "Why does the house feel cold?" "Heater's just being stubborn, baby. Like old Mr. Peterson's truck." He pulled her onto his lap, away from the sight of bills. "Hey, you excited about the Christmas play?" Her face lit up, then dimmed slightly. "Mrs. Collins says my costume is fine. She said fine in that way that means it's not really fine, but she's being nice." Marcus's jaw tightened. Emma's angel costume was a patchwork of old sheets and borrowed tinsel, held together by prayers and hot glue. "You'll be the most beautiful angel that stage has ever seen. Molly's mom hired someone to make hers. It has real feathers." She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. "Maybe next year?" "Maybe next year," he agreed, the words ash in his mouth. As Emma returned to her breakfast, Marcus's gaze drifted to Zara's photo on the mantel. 3 years gone, and the bills had swallowed her life insurance like a stone dropped in the ocean. He'd promised her he'd take care of Emma, promised as she lay dying that their daughter would want for nothing. "I'm trying, Sarah," he whispered. "God knows I'm trying. Time to get dressed, little one. Grandma's expecting us by lunch." He forced brightness into his voice. "Go pick out your warmest clothes." While Emma rummaged through her dresser, Marcus allowed himself one moment of despair. He pressed his palms against his eyes, breathing through the weight that threatened to crush him. The construction job today paid time and a half for storm work. Dangerous, especially with the old equipment they'd be using. But that extra money might buy them another week. Daddy? Emma stood in the doorway, wearing her favorite purple sweater, the one with only one small hole in the elbow. Are you sad? No, baby. Just tired. She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around his neck. It's okay to be sad sometimes. That's what Mrs. Chen says. She says tears water the garden of tomorrow. Marcus held her tight. This little philosopher. In second-hand clothes. When did you get so wise? Tuesday, I think. She grinned, and for a moment Sarah lived again in that smile. As he helped her into her coat, 2 sizes too big, bought for growing room, Emma chatted about school, about her best friend Lucy, about the library book she'd renewed 3 times because she loved it so much. Her words painted color over the grey morning, transformation through sheer force of will. Loading her overnight bag into the truck, Marcus fingered the foreclosure notice in his pocket. 30 days to find a miracle. He'd worked construction since he was 16, built homes for other families with his bare hands. The bitter irony wasn't lost on him, a carpenter who couldn't keep a roof over his own child's head. But today wasn't the day for giving up. Today was for driving Emma to her grandmother's, for keeping his voice steady and his smile fixed. Tomorrow he'd figure out the rest. Tomorrow he'd find a way. As they prepared to leave, neither father nor daughter knew that in a few hours their careful routine would shatter against the rocks of Cedar River, and salvation would come wearing designer clothes and a frightened expression, trapped in a sinking car. The morning air bit sharp and clean as Marcus loaded Emma's overnight bag into the truck bed, securing it with bungee cords that had seen better decades. Mrs. Chen emerged from the house next door, wrapped in a quilted coat that made her look like a kindly dumpling. Marcus, Emma. She shuffled over, pressing a paper bag into Emma's hands. Some cookies for the drive, still warm. Mrs. Chen, you don't have to, Marcus began. Nonsense. What else do I have to do but bake? She patted Emma's cheek with a weathered hand. Besides, growing girls need sweetness in their lives. Emma hugged the bag like treasure. Thank you. Daddy, can I have one now? After we get on the road. He met Mrs. Chen's eyes, seeing the kindness there, the unspoken offer of more help if only he'd accept it. But Marcus Hayes had built his life on the foundation of self-reliance. Pride was all he had left to give his daughter. Drive careful, Mrs. Chen said softly. Radio says storm's getting worse. As they pulled away, Emma waved until the old woman disappeared from view. She settled into her seat, arranging her collection of necessities, the library book, her small purse with $3.17, and the cookies, which she was definitely not sneaking bites of. Tell me about Mummy again, Emma said, as they turned onto the main road. It was her favorite driving game, this gentle archaeology of memory. Marcus's hand moved unconsciously to the chain around his neck, where Sarah's wedding ring rested against his heart. What do you want to know? Did she like purple too? She loved it. That's where you get it from. She had this purple dress. He smiled, remembering. First time I saw her, she was wearing it at the church picnic. Looked like she'd stepped out of a dream. And you spilled lemonade on yourself, all over my good shirt. She laughed, but not in a mean way. She helped me clean up, and we talked until the stars came out. Emma sighed contentedly. These stories were her inheritance, each one polished smooth by retelling. I wish I remembered her better. You were so young, baby. But she's in you. In. Your laugh, your kindness, the way you hum when you're thinking. Sometimes I pretend she's just on a long trip, Emma confided. And one day she'll come back with presents and stories. Marcus's throat tightened. That's a nice thought. They drove in comfortable silence, Emma working through her cookies with mathematical precision. 1 bite, chew 20 times, savor. The truck's heater wheezed like an asthmatic dragon, producing more noise than warmth. Marcus had grown used to driving with one eye on the temperature gauge, ready to pull over if the ancient engine overheated. Daddy, Emma's voice carried that tone that meant a serious question was coming. Lucy's mom said we could come live with them. She has a big house with extra rooms. That's kind of her to offer. But you said no. We're doing fine on our own, are we? She turned those Sarah eyes on him. Because I heard you talking to yourself about the bills, and I know what foreclosure means. I looked it up at the library. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. When had his baby girl become so perceptive? Sometimes grown-ups have challenges, but that's my worry, not yours. Mrs. Robertson says families share worries. That's what makes them lighter. When did Mrs. Robertson say that? When she kept me after school to talk about my lunch account. Emma's voice grew small. I told her I wasn't hungry anyway. Rage and shame battled in Marcus's chest. His daughter going hungry, teachers noticing, charity conversations behind. His back. Emma, you should have told me. You already don't eat, so I can. I see you, Daddy. I'm not a baby anymore. The words hung between them as rain began speckling the windshield. Marcus flipped on the wipers, their rhythmic squeak filling the silence. How did you explain to an 8-year-old that accepting help felt like admitting failure? That every offer of assistance was another brick in the wall of his inadequacy? As a provider, I want a Christmas miracle, Emma announced suddenly. Not toys or games. I want us to stay in our house, that's all. We'll see what we can do, Marcus managed. That's what grown-ups say when they mean no. But she smiled to soften the words. It's okay, Daddy. We have each other. That's what really matters. The rain intensified as they climbed into the mountains. Marcus checked the gas gauge, a quarter tank, enough to reach his mother's if he took the mountain pass instead of the longer highway route. Every mile counted when gas was $3.79 a gallon. Getting sleepy, Emma murmured, her cookie consumption finally catching up with her. Rest your eyes. I'll wake you when we get there. As Emma drifted off, Marcus allowed himself to really look at her. Purple sweater, jeans patched at the knees, shoes held together with determination and duct tape. But her face, peaceful, trusting, beautiful in its innocence. She deserved so much more than he could give. The storm strengthened as they climbed higher, rain turning to sleet. The truck's worn tires struggled for purchase on the increasingly slick road. Marcus slowed, leaning forward to peer through the windshield. Just a few more miles to the bridge, then down into the valley where his mother waited. He reached over to adjust Emma's seatbelt, making sure she was secure. Whatever came next, she would be safe. That was all that mattered. The radio crackled with weather warnings, but Marcus turned it down to avoid waking Emma. Outside, the world had become a grey blur of water and wind. Neither of them could have imagined that in minutes their lives would intersect with Victoria Ashford's in a collision of worlds that would transform them all. Marcus pumped the brakes as they approached Cedar River Bridge, his carpenter's eye immediately cataloguing the danger. The old wooden structure, already weakened by decades of mountain weather, had partially collapsed under the storm's assault. Through the driving sleet, he could make out the impossible. A black Bentley SUV balanced precariously on the remaining timbers, its rear wheels spinning over empty air and raging water. Dear God, he breathed, pulling to a stop 20 feet from the bridge's crumbling edge. Emma stirred in the back seat. Are we at Grandma's? Stay in the truck, baby. His voice carried the iron tone that meant no arguments. Lock the doors behind me. Daddy, what's wrong? But Marcus was already moving, grabbing his work rope from the truck bed. 20 years of construction had taught him to read structural failure like sheet music. And this bridge was singing its death song. The SUV tilted another degree, and he could see the driver, a woman, her pale face stark against the dark interior, hands pounding uselessly against the window. Call 911, he shouted back to Emma. Tell them Cedar River Bridge. The mathematical part of his brain kicked in, calculating loads and angles. The bridge might hold another few minutes, maybe less. The SUV definitely wouldn't. Every instinct screamed at him to stay safe, to wait for professionals with proper equipment. But the woman's terrified eyes met his through the windshield, and suddenly she wasn't a stranger. She was someone's daughter, maybe someone's mother. Marcus tied one end of the rope around his truck's trailer hitch, tested the knot twice. The other end he secured around his waist with a bowline. The first knot his father had taught him, the one that wouldn't slip no matter what. "Sir," the woman's voice carried faintly through the storm, "please help me. The doors won't open." "Stay calm." He edged onto the bridge, feeling the timbers groan beneath his weight. "I'm coming!" The wood was slick with ice, treacherous as a skating rink. Marcus dropped to his knees, distributing his weight as he crawled forward. Behind him, he could hear Emma's voice, high and frightened on the phone with emergency services. Halfway across, a timber cracked like a gunshot. The SUV lurched, sliding another foot toward the edge. The woman screamed. "What's your name?" Marcus called out, still moving forward. "Victoria!" Her voice cracked with panic. "The engine died. I can't. The water's coming in." Sure enough, Marcus could see the brown torrent seeping through the door seals. The river was rising fast, fed by mountain runoff. "Victoria, I need you to move to the passenger side. Slowly," she complied, the SUV rocking dangerously with the weight shift. Marcus reached the vehicle just as another support beam splintered. Time was up. "Cover your face." He swung his hammer, always on his belt, even on days off, at the passenger window. Safety glass exploded in 1,000 diamonds. Cold wind howled through the opening. Victoria's eyes were wide with terror, her expensive clothes soaked with river spray. "I can't swim." "You won't have to." Marcus reached through, his calloused hands gripping her shoulders. "On 3, you're going to push with your legs while I pull. Ready?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. 1, 2, 3. Victoria pushed off the driver's seat as Marcus hauled her through the window. For a moment she was halfway out, her designer dress catching on the glass fragments. Then the bridge gave a tremendous crack, and the SUV tilted past the point of no return. Marcus wrapped both arms around Victoria's waist and threw himself backward, using every ounce of strength, earned from years of hauling lumber and driving nails. They tumbled onto the bridge as the Bentley slipped free, plummeting into the rapids with a sound like thunder. "Move! Move!" Marcus scrambled to his feet, pulling Victoria with him. The bridge was coming apart beneath them, planks falling like dominoes. They ran, or rather Marcus ran, while half-carrying Victoria, whose legs seemed to have forgotten their purpose. The rope around his waist grew taut, guiding them through the sleet. Behind them, the ancient bridge surrendered to the storm with a groaning crash that shook the mountain. They collapsed on solid ground just as the last section crumbled into the torrent. Victoria was unconscious, her breathing shallow but steady. Marcus checked her pulse, then looked back at where the bridge had stood for 60 years. Nothing remained but broken timbers spinning in the current and caught on a piece of wood, somehow still visible despite the chaos. A purple and gold scarf, designer logo glinting in the stormlight. Heiress, though Marcus didn't recognize the brand. It fluttered like a flag of surrender before the river claimed it. "Daddy!" Emma's door flew open. "Is she okay? Are you okay?" "Get the emergency blanket from under your seat," Marcus instructed, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. He lifted Victoria carefully, surprised by how light she felt. Whatever world she came from, it was one where meals weren't rationed and warmth wasn't negotiable. As he carried her to the truck, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted, like tectonic plates grinding together. Beneath the surface of his carefully ordered life, the storm raged on, indifferent to the small human dramas playing out in its fury. But sometimes, Marcus would think later, storms brought more than destruction. Sometimes they washed things up. On your shore that you never knew you needed. Marcus settled Victoria into the truck's bench seat, her head lolling against the window. Emma scrambled to spread the emergency blanket over their unexpected passenger, her small hands tucking the silver fabric with the same care she showed. "Her dolls. Is she going to be okay, Daddy?" "She's in shock, but she's breathing fine." Marcus checked Victoria's pulse again, steady, stronger than before. "We need to get her warm." He cranked the truck's heater to maximum, coaxing what warmth He could from the ancient system. Victoria's clothes were soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her pale face. Even unconscious, she carried herself with a grace that spoke of a different world. Manicured nails, subtle jewelry, the kind of bone structure that came from generations of good nutrition and better dental care. "The 911 lady," said the ambulance. "Can't get through," Emma reported, still clutching Marcus's phone. "The storm knocked trees down on Highway 12. She said to seek shelter and keep the patient warm." Patient. The word made this surreal situation oddly medical, official. Marcus glanced at the gas gauge. 1/8 of a tank now, not enough to idle for long. The nearest hospital was 40 miles away. Impossible in these conditions. "We're taking her home," he decided. "But Grandma's expecting us." "Grandma will understand." He put the truck in gear, executing a careful 3-point turn on the narrow mountain road. "We can't leave her at a gas station, and our house is only 10 minutes. Away! Victoria stirred as they descended from the mountains, a soft moan escaping her lips. Her eyes fluttered open, grey-green like river stones, and fixed on Emma with confusion. "It's okay," Emma soothed, patting Victoria's hand. "My daddy saved you. You're safe now." "The bridge." Victoria's voice was hoarse, cultured. "My car. Gone," Marcus said simply. "But you're alive, that's what matters." Victoria tried to sit up, winced and settled back. Thank you. I thought—" She shuddered, pulling the blanket tighter. "I'm so cold." "We'll be home soon," Emma assured her. "Daddy will make everything better. He always does." Marcus caught Victoria's eyes in the rear-view mirror, saw her. Take in the truck's shabby interior. The cracked dashboard, the door held shut with wire, Emma's patched clothing. Something flickered across her face. Not disgust, surprisingly, but a kind of wondering assessment. "I'm sorry to be such trouble," Victoria managed. "If you could just drop me at a hotel—" "Ma'am, there's not a hotel for 30 miles, and the roads are getting worse." Marcus navigated around a fallen branch. "You'll stay with us until the storm passes, but I couldn't impose." "You're not imposing," Emma interrupted with 8-year-old certainty. "That's what people do. They help each other. Right, Daddy?" "That's right, baby." They pulled into the driveway of the small rental house, rain still hammering the roof. Marcus carried Victoria to the door, while Emma ran ahead with the keys, flipping on lights that flickered ominously. "Power's been unstable all week," Marcus explained, settling Victoria on their worn couch. "Let me get the fireplace going." The living room was clean but sparse, second-hand furniture arranged with care, Emma's drawings covering one wall, Sarah's photo holding court on the mantel. Victoria's gaze travelled over everything, lingering on the stack of overdue bills Marcus had forgotten to hide. "Emma, get some towels from the bathroom," Marcus instructed, kneeling by the fireplace. "The big ones." As his daughter scampered off, Victoria spoke softly. "Your wife." Marcus followed her gaze to Sarah's picture. 3 years ago. "Cancer. I'm so sorry. Emma looks just like her." He coaxed flame from kindling, a skill learned from years of making do. "Same smile, same spirit. She's remarkable, so brave during the rescue. She's had to grow up fast." The words came out more bitter than intended. Emma returned with an armload of towels, their best ones, Marcus noted, usually saved for company that never came. "Here you go, Miss Victoria," she supplied, accepting the towels gratefully. "Just Victoria. That's a pretty name, like the Queen." "Emma, why don't you make some tea?" Marcus suggested. "You know how." Pride glowed on his daughter's face as she headed to the kitchen. Marcus could hear her moving carefully, getting down the good mugs. All 3 of them. "Mr. Hayes, Marcus Hayes." He fed more wood to the growing fire. "I should look at those." "It cuts on your hands." Victoria looked down, seeming surprised by the blood. "I didn't even notice. Adrenaline does that." He fetched the first aid kit, another construction site necessity. "This might sting." She barely flinched as he cleaned the cuts, glass fragments from the window, nothing deep. Her hands were soft, uncalloused, the kind that had never known manual labor. But her eyes, watching him work, held a depth he hadn't expected. "You risked your life for a stranger?" she said quietly. "Anyone would have." "No," her voice carried quiet certainty. "They wouldn't have. Most people would have waited for professionals, kept themselves safe. You didn't even hesitate." Marcus applied antibiotic ointment, uncomfortable with the praise. "I've got a daughter. I'd want someone to help if it were her." Still, Victoria flexed her bandaged fingers. "Thank you seems inadequate." Emma appeared, with a tray, beaming. "I made chamomile. It's calming." As Victoria accepted the mug with genuine gratitude, Marcus watched the two of them, his daughter explaining about the honey she'd added, their guest listening with real interest. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside their small circle of firelight, something gentle was taking root. The storm intensified as evening fell, rattling the windows with particular violence. Marcus checked his phone. No signal, towers probably down. The roads would be impassable until morning at least. "I should find you something dry to wear," he told Victoria, who still shivered despite the fire's warmth. "Emma, show Victoria where the bathroom is." In his bedroom, Marcus stood before Sarah's dresser, untouched these 3 years except for weekly dusting. Her clothes waited patiently, as if she might return from a long shift at the hospital and need her favorite sweater. His hands trembled slightly as he selected practical items: sweatpants, a warm pullover, thick socks. "Daddy keeps Mommy's things nice," Emma was explaining in the hallway. "He says memories deserve respect." When Victoria emerged from the bathroom, Sarah's clothes hanging loose on her smaller frame, Marcus felt a peculiar twist in his chest. Not pain exactly, but a recognition of time's passage, of life's strange currents. "Thank you," Victoria said. Simply, "I'll have them cleaned and returned." "No need." The words came out rougher than intended. They should be worn." Dinner presented its own challenges. Marcus surveyed the refrigerator's meager contents with the strategic eye of a general planning a campaign. 1/2 pound of ground beef, a box of pasta, canned tomatoes. It would have to do. "Can I help?" Victoria appeared at his elbow. "We've got it covered. You should rest." "Please." Something in her voice made him look closer. "I need to do something after today." He understood that, the need for normal motions after trauma. "Can you cook?" A rueful smile. "I can follow directions." They worked side by side while Emma set the table with mathematical precision, using their few matching plates. Victoria chopped onions with careful concentration, as if the simple task required her full attention. "I never learned properly," she admitted. "There was always someone else to do it." "Nothing wrong with that," Marcus said, though privately he wondered what kind of life included someone else for basic tasks. Maybe not wrong, but incomplete. She watched him brown the meat with easy efficiency. "You make it look simple. Lots of practice. Emma and I take turns cooking." He glanced at his daughter, who was folding napkins into elaborate shapes. "Tuesday's her night. Last week we had peanut butter pizza." "It was experimental cuisine," Emma defended. "Mrs. Robertson says all great chefs take risks." Victoria laughed, the first genuine sound of joy she'd made. "I'd like to try it sometime." "Really?" Emma's face lit up. "Most grown-ups just make that smile that means they're being polite." "I don't do polite smiles," Victoria said seriously. "Ask your father. I've been quite difficult." "You've been in shock," Marcus corrected, stirring the sauce. "There's a difference. They ate by candlelight when the power finally gave up, Emma treating it like an adventure rather than infrastructure failure." Victoria asked about school, listening with focus while Emma explained her various academic trials, the teacher who didn't understand her creative spelling, the ongoing diplomatic crisis with Bobby Chen over crayon ownership. "He says purples. Not a boy color," Emma explained, "which is ridiculous because colors don't have gender." "Absolutely right," Victoria agreed. "I once knew a CEO who wore purple ties exclusively, said it projected confidence." "What's a CEO?" "Someone who runs a company, makes big decisions." Emma considered this. "Like Daddy with his construction crew. Similar principle. Victoria said, catching Marcus's eye with something like understanding. After dinner, Emma brought out her homework journal, seeking help with a writing assignment. Marcus started clearing dishes, but Victoria insisted on helping despite his protests. "I noticed you're quite good at math," she told Emma. "Your division work on the refrigerator, advanced for 3rd grade. Emma beamed. "Daddy teaches me. He says math is just solving puzzles, and puzzles are fun." They settled on the couch, Victoria helping Emma craft sentences while Marcus washed dishes by candlelight. He could hear them laughing over word choices, his daughter's voice animated in a way it hadn't been with strangers before. "And that's why I think every family should have traditions." Emma read from her journal. "Mine is Saturday pancakes. With Daddy, even though sometimes we pretend they're waffles." "That's beautiful," Victoria said softly. "What made you choose that topic?" "Well," Emma's voice dropped, "some kids write about vacation traditions or Christmas mornings with lots of presents. But I think traditions don't need money, just people who show up." Marcus's hands stilled in the soapy water. When had his little girl become a philosopher? "I think you're absolutely right," Victoria said. "The best traditions are about presents, not presents. Hey, that's a homophone. Mrs. Collins loves those." Later, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed, she whispered, "I like her, Daddy. She listens, with her whole face." That's a good way to put it. "Do you think she has anyone to have traditions with?" "I don't know, baby. Maybe she could share ours sometimes, if she wanted." Marcus kissed her forehead. "Maybe. Now sleep." Returning to the living room, he found Victoria staring at Emma's homework journal, tears tracking down her cheeks. She startled when she noticed him, wiping quickly at her face. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry. It was just open and I saw—" She gestured helplessly at the page where Emma had written, "I wish I had a mum to teach me girl things, but Daddy does. His best, and that's more than enough." "She's going through a phase," Marcus said quietly, noticing what other kids have. "She's remarkable. You both are." Victoria closed the journal carefully. "I've been in your home for hours, and neither of you has asked me for anything. Do you know how rare that is? You're our guest. That's how it works." "No," she said firmly, "that's how it should work. But most people see opportunity, calculate advantage. You just saw someone who needed help." The candle flickered between them, casting dancing shadows. Outside, the storm began to ease, though the roads would remain treacherous until morning. In the gentle light, Victoria looked younger, more vulnerable than the polished woman he'd pulled from the SUV. "The couch pulls out," Marcus said finally. "I'll get you some blankets." "Thank you for everything." As he gathered bedding from the hall closet, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that saving Victoria from the river was only the beginning of something larger, a current that would sweep all of them toward an unknown shore. Victoria woke to the sound of careful clattering in the kitchen and whispered negotiations. Grey morning light filtered through the curtains, the storm having blown itself out overnight. She lay still, listening to Emma's stage whisper. "But Daddy said she's probably tired. We should let her sleep." "I'm awake," Victoria called softly, sitting up on the pull-out bed. Every muscle ached from yesterday's trauma, but she was alive, wondrously, impossibly alive. Emma's face appeared around the corner, bright with morning energy. "Good morning. I'm making breakfast. Do you like eggs?" "I do." Victoria finger-combed her hair, aware she must look disheveled. "Where's your father?" Emergency call from Mr. Patterson. The storm damaged his roof. Emma's expression shifted to something too knowing for 8 years. "Daddy always goes when people need help, even when they can't pay right away." Victoria followed Emma to the kitchen, where the girl had arranged their modest supplies with surgical precision. 3 eggs, a small portion of cheese, 2 slices of bread for toasting, everything calculated to stretch exactly far enough. "I usually make Daddy breakfast on Sundays," Emma explained, cracking an egg with practiced care. "He pretends I'm the best chef in Montana." "Maybe you are." "Nah, but I'm getting better. Mrs. Chen is teaching me to make dumplings." She whisked the eggs with determination. Do you cook? Not really. Victoria paused, realizing how her usual answer would sound. I travel a lot for work. Hotel rooms don't have kitchens. What kind of work? The question every stranger asked, the one Victoria had been dodging for months. Business. Very boring adult stuff. Emma accepted this with the easy grace children. Showed for adult evasions. Daddy builds things, houses, stores, anything people need. He says good work stands long after the worker's gone. They prepared breakfast together. Emma chattering about school, her best friend Lucy, the library's summer reading program she'd already started planning for. Victoria found herself genuinely engaged, asking follow-up questions, laughing at Emma's impression of her stern librarian. You're easy to talk to, Emma observed, dividing the scrambled eggs onto 2 plates. Some adults just pretend to listen. Your conversation's more interesting than most adults I know, Victoria said truthfully. They were halfway through breakfast when Emma noticed the newspaper on the porch, fetching it despite Victoria's offer to go. The child returned with the local weekly, shaking off droplets of rain. Let's see. Weather, sports, boring town council stuff. Oh, Emma's eyes widened. There's a missing person alert. Victoria's stomach dropped. Oh, some rich lady disappeared from Jackson Hole, Victoria Ashford. Emma sounded out the name carefully. Hey, that's your name. Well, the first part. It's a common name, Victoria managed, her heart racing. Emma studied the grainy photo, a corporate headshot from 2 years ago, all sharp angles and professional styling. She looks sad, like she's smiling, but not really. What makes you say that? Her eyes. They're like Daddy's when he thinks I'm not looking. Emma set the paper aside, more interested in her eggs. I hope she's okay. Victoria swallowed hard. I'm sure she is. Maybe she just needed a break, Emma suggested with startling insight. Daddy says sometimes people get lost because they need to find something. They finished breakfast in companionable silence, Victoria struggling with the urge to confess everything to this wise child. But what would be the point? Tomorrow the roads would clear, she'd leave, and the Hayes family could return to their careful, dignified poverty without the complications. Her wealth would bring. Want to see my costume for the Christmas play? Emma asked, already bouncing toward her room. It needs work, but Daddy and I are fixing it. The angel costume hung on Emma's closet door. White sheets sewn together with more love than skill. Tinsel held on with safety pins, wings made from cardboard and cotton balls. It was heartbreaking in its earnest attempt at grandeur. It's beautiful, Victoria said, meaning it. You don't have to be nice. I know it's not like the other kids. Emma touched a drooping wing, but Daddy stayed up late working on it. He watched YouTube videos to learn special stitches. May I? Victoria examined the costume with professional interest. She'd overseen enough corporate events to know quality construction. You know, with a few small adjustments. Could you help? Hope bloomed on Emma's face. I mean, if you're still here later, I'd be honored. They spent the next hour planning improvements, Victoria sketching ideas while Emma provided enthusiastic commentary. The child had an eye for design, suggesting practical modifications that would maximize impact with minimal materials. We could use the aluminum foil for accents, Emma suggested. Make it catch the stage lights. Brilliant. And if we reinforce the wings with wire coat hangers, there's tons in the closet. Daddy never throws anything away. Marcus returned, to find them surrounded by craft supplies, Emma wearing the partially deconstructed costume, while Victoria demonstrated a technique for attaching tinsel that wouldn't shed. Daddy! Emma spun, new wing supports holding firm. Victoria's a costume genius. I see that. His expression was unreadable, taking in the domestic scene. Victoria, could I speak with you a moment? She followed him to the porch, noting his muddy boots, the fatigue in his shoulders. Is everything all right? Emma gets attached quickly, he said without preamble. Since her mother, she looks for connections. I need to know you're not going to make promises you can't keep. I wouldn't. The costume, whatever else. I appreciate your help. But she's been hurt enough. If you're leaving tomorrow, better to go clean. Victoria met his protective gaze steadily. I don't make promises I can't keep, Mr. Hayes. Ever. Something in her tone must have convinced him. He nodded slowly. All right then. And it's Marcus. Marcus. She tested the name. For what it's worth, helping Emma feels like the most real thing I've done in years. He studied her for a long moment, this woman in his wife's clothes who'd fallen into their lives like a star from heaven. The roads should be clear by afternoon, but you're welcome to stay until you're ready. Neither of them acknowledged what ready might mean, or that readiness for leaving and wanting to leave were entirely different things. The afternoon sun broke through the clouds as Marcus prepared for another emergency call. Victoria watched him load tools into his truck, noting how he tested each one before packing it. His work boots caught her attention, the sole on the left. One had separated from the upper, held together with silver duct tape applied in careful strips. Another roof, she asked from the porch. Storm damage at the old Mitchell place. Tree went through their kitchen. He paused, something flickering across his face. It's hazard work. Pays double. Hazard work. Removing the tree while it's still. Unstable. Insurance won't cover it until it's safe, but the Mitchells can't wait. Rain's getting in. He shrugged, as if danger was just another line item on life's invoice. Emma appeared with his thermos. I made your coffee extra strong, Daddy. Be careful, okay? Always am, baby girl. He kissed her forehead, then hesitated. Victoria, I hate to ask, but I'll watch Emma. Go. Relief and reluctance warred on his face. Her grandmother's number is on the fridge. Emma knows the rules. After he left, Victoria found Emma in the kitchen, carefully counting bills from a ceramic piggy bank shaped like a cowboy boot. $17.33, the girl announced. I'm saving for Daddy's Christmas present. What are you planning to get him? New work boots. His have holes. Emma's matter-of-fact tone made it worse somehow. But boots cost $60 at Walmart. I've been saving since July. Victoria's throat tightened. That's very thoughtful. He gave me his sandwich yesterday. Said he wasn't hungry, but I heard his stomach growling during the movie. Emma carefully returned each bill to the bank. Sometimes I pretend I'm full so he'll eat. The words hung in the air like an indictment of every meal Victoria had ever wasted. Every casual purchase that could have fed this family for a week. She thought of her closet back home, dozens of designer shoes worn once, bags that cost more than Marcus made in a month. Does that happen often? Your dad not eating? Emma wouldn't meet her eyes, only near the end of the month, or when the bills come, or when work is slow. A pause. So yeah, pretty often. Victoria excused herself to the bathroom, gripping the sink as waves of emotion crashed over her. Through the thin walls, she could hear Emma humming while she reorganized. Her piggy bank savings, planning impossible mathematics with heartbreaking optimism. Returning to the living room, Victoria found Emma staring at the stack of bills on the desk, the red foreclosure stamp visible even from across the room. I know what that means, Emma said quietly. Bobby Chen's family had to move last year because of it. His mom cried at pickup. Emma, I told Daddy I could help. Get a job or something. Kids deliver newspapers in movies. Her small shoulders straightened with determination that would have been comical if it weren't so devastating. But he said, my job is to be a kid and get smart. How's being smart going to keep our house? Victoria sat beside her, choosing words carefully. Your dad's right. Education is the best investment. That's what rich people say. Emma's flash of anger surprised them both. Sorry, I didn't mean... No, you're right. It does sound hollow. When you're worried about keeping a roof over your head. They sat in silence, Emma picking at a loose thread on the couch. Finally, she spoke again. I hear him crying sometimes, late at night when he thinks I'm asleep. He tries so hard, but it's like climbing a mountain made of ice. Every time he gets somewhere, he slides back down. Your father's the strongest. Man I've ever met, Victoria said firmly. Strong doesn't pay bills. Emma's pragmatism was terrible in its accuracy. I wish someone could help who he'd actually let help. He's so proud, says we don't take charity. There's nothing wrong with pride. There is when it means you go hungry. Emma looked up with those Sarah blue eyes. Do you know what it's like? Having food in your belly be the thing you wish for on your birthday cake? Victoria couldn't speak past the knot in her throat. I love my daddy more than all the stars, Emma continued. But sometimes I think his pride is going to cost us everything. And I don't know how to tell him that I'd rather have help than dignity. Is that bad? No, sweetheart, that's honest. Emma leaned against her, this child forced to carry adult worries. You smell nice, like the department store downtown where they spray perfume. We go there sometimes to get warm in winter. Another gut punch of privilege Victoria had never questioned. Climate-controlled shopping as survival strategy. Can I tell you a secret? Emma whispered. Of course. Sometimes I dream about a fairy godmother. Not like Cinderella. I don't need a ball gown. Just someone who could make Daddy not worry so much. Someone who could make him smile for real, not just the pretend smile he does for me. Victoria held the girl closer, feeling the weight of unspoken possibility. She had more money than she could spend in 10 lifetimes, inherited from a father who'd valued wealth over warmth. Here was a child who'd trade all of it for her father's genuine happiness. What would you do? Emma asked suddenly. If you could help but the person you wanted to help wouldn't let you? I don't know. Maybe you'd find a way that didn't. Look like help. Like when Mrs. Chen brings too much food by accident and needs us to take it so it won't spoil. Daddy accepts that because he's helping her not waste things. Wisdom from the mouths of babes, Victoria thought. That's very clever. I'm good at figuring out grown-up puzzles. Had lots of practice. Emma yawned, the emotional weight of their conversation catching up. Will you still be here when Daddy gets home? Do you want me to be? Yes. You look at him like he's worth looking at. Most people just see the old truck and the mended clothes. Emma's eyes drooped. But you see him, like really see him. As Emma dozed against her shoulder, Victoria stared at the foreclosure notice across the room. 30 days. Less than a month before this child lost the only home she'd known, before Marcus's pride collided with reality in a way that would shatter them both. Her phone, water-damaged but partially functional, buzzed with messages from her assistant, her board of directors, all the people panicking about her disappearance. She silenced it without looking. For the first time in her life, Victoria Ashford knew exactly where she needed to be. Morning arrived with a sleek black Mercedes pulling into the Hayes gravel driveway, its pristine paint job incongruous against the weathered landscape. Victoria watched from the window as her assistant, James, emerged in his tailored suit, looking like he'd been teleported from another planet. Emma pressed her nose to the glass. Fancy car. Is that for you? Yes. Victoria's stomach churned. The real world had found her, as it always did. Marcus appeared from the kitchen, took in the scene with one glance. His expression shuttered like storm windows being pulled closed. Friend of yours? My colleague. The word tasted false. I should speak with him. She met James on the porch, noting his relief and exasperation in equal measure. Victoria, thank God. The board is in chaos. The Thornton deal needs your signature, and your disappearance has sparked speculation about company stability. Not here, she cut him off, acutely aware of Emma watching from the window. Give me a moment. Back inside, she found Marcus's jaw set in a hard line. I need to speak with you. Privately. They stepped onto the back porch, the mountain air sharp between them. Victoria gathered her courage. No more hiding. My name is Victoria Ashford. I'm the CEO of Ashford Energy, the woman from the newspaper. Marcus stood perfectly still, processing. The oil heiress, the billionaire, yes. And you've been here, in my house, pretending to be, what? Just another stranded traveler. I wasn't pretending. Everything that happened was real. Real. His laugh held no humor. Lady, nothing about this is real. You're playing some rich person's game of normal life while my daughter... He stopped, fists clenched. Please, let me explain. Explain what? How you lied. How you let Emma get attached. When you knew you'd leave. His voice dropped dangerously. I told you not to hurt her. I never meant to lie. When I went over that bridge, I was running. From the company, from expectations, from a life that felt like it was suffocating me. Victoria met his angry gaze. My father died 6 months ago. Left me everything. A fortune I never wanted and a company I don't know how to run. Everyone wants something from me. Every conversation is a transaction. Must be real hard, Marcus said coldly, having too much money. You're right. It sounds pathetic compared to your struggles. But when you pulled me from that car, when Emma made me tea with such care, when we sat at your table like a family, her voice broke. It was the first time in years I felt human. Not a bank account or a business deal. Just Victoria. Well, congratulations on your vacation from privilege, but this is our real life. Tomorrow, we'll still be facing foreclosure. Emma will still need things I can't provide, and you'll be back in your mansion feeling good about your little adventure with the poor folks. The words stung because they held truth, but not all of it. I want to help. No. The word cracked like a whip. We don't need your charity. It's not charity. You saved my life. I'd have done it for anyone. That doesn't create a debt. Marcus, please. The foreclosure, Emma's school needs, your boots held together with tape. I have more money than I could spend in 100 lifetimes. Let you what? Buy us? Turn us into your pet project? His pride blazed like a forge fire. I've worked since I was 14 years old. Built houses with these hands. Raised my daughter alone. We might not have much, but what we have, we earned. I'm not trying to diminish that, aren't you? You think money fixes everything? You think you can write a check and make it all better? He gestured toward the house. That little girl in there has more character and strength than anyone I know. She's learned the value of hard work, of appreciation, of making do. You want to teach her that. When life gets hard, we just wait for some rich savior. Victoria felt tears threaten. That's not what We were fine before you came. We'll be fine after you leave. Fine? Marcus, you're about to lose your home. Emma goes hungry so you can eat. She's saving her piggy bank money for your work boots. That's not fine. That's survival. It's honest survival. On our own terms. Your pride is going to cost Emma everything! The words hung between them like a blade. Marcus went white, then red. How dare you! Daddy! Emma's small voice cut through their anger. She stood in the doorway, eyes wide and confused. Why are you yelling at Victoria? Go inside, baby. But now, Emma. She fled, but not before Victoria saw the tears starting. Marcus turned on her, voice deadly quiet. You need to leave. Now. Marcus, that's my daughter you just made cry. The one person in this world I swore to protect from hurt. He stepped back as if her presence was contaminating. Your colleague is waiting. Time to go back where you belong. Victoria's business card had fallen from her purse during the argument, landing face up between them. Victoria Ashford, CEO Ashford Energy, in elegant script, the physical reminder of the chasm between their worlds. I never meant for any of this, I know. His anger seemed to drain away, leaving only exhaustion. That's what makes it worse. You're not cruel, just careless. Careless with hearts that can't afford to be broken. James knocked on the porch door. Miss Ashford, we really need to go. The lawyers are waiting. She looked once more at Marcus, this proud man in his mended clothes who'd risked everything to save a stranger. I'm sorry. So am I. As she walked to the Mercedes, Victoria heard Emma's voice from inside. Is she coming back, Daddy? She didn't hear Marcus's answer, but his silence said everything. The car pulled away, taking her back to her world of board, meetings and billion-dollar decisions. But she left something behind in that small house. A piece of herself she hadn't known was missing until a contractor and his daughter had shown her where it fit. The Mercedes disappeared down the mountain road, taking with it the brief warmth that had filled the Hayes household. Marcus stood on the porch, watching until even the dust settled, before turning to face his daughter's wounded eyes. Why did you make her leave? Emma's voice was small, accusatory. It's complicated, baby. No, it's not. She wanted to help, and you said no, just like with Mrs. Chen's casseroles and Mr. Patterson's job offer in Denver. Emma's hands fisted at her sides. You always say no? That's not— It is. The dam broke, tears streaming down her face. I liked her, Daddy. She listened and helped with my costume and made breakfast feel special. Why do you ruin everything good? The words cut deeper than any adult criticism could. Marcus knelt, reaching for his daughter, but she stepped back. Emma, please, I'm going to my room. She ran, her door closing with 8-year-old finality. Marcus sat heavily on the porch steps, head in his hands. The silence stretched, broken only by the drip of melting snow from the roof. His phone rang. Jim from the construction company. Marcus, I've got bad news, brother. That storm job at the Mitchell place? Their insurance came through. They're hiring a licensed crew. I'm sorry, I understand. The words came automatically. Look, if you need an advance on next week's, we're fine. The lie burned his throat. Thanks anyway. He ended the call and stared at his hands, scarred, calloused, capable, hands that had built dozens of homes but couldn't hold on to his own. The foreclosure notice seemed to pulse from inside the house like a malignant heart. Emma's piggy bank sat on the kitchen counter where she'd left it. $17.33 toward boots he'd wear until they fell apart completely. Too proud to let his daughter buy him dignity. A knock interrupted his spiral. Sheriff Davidson stood at the door, expression apologetic. Tom, Marcus. Straightened. What brings you out? You know what brings me out. The sheriff held out an envelope. Final notice, Marcus. Bank wants me to post it. I stalled as long as I could. Marcus took the paper. Notice of eviction proceedings. 7 days to respond or vacate. I'm sorry, Tom said quietly. Sarah would have hated this. Sarah's not here. The words came out harsher than intended. After the sheriff left, Marcus stood in his empty kitchen, the weight of failure crushing. He'd sworn at Sarah's bedside that Emma would never want for anything, promised their daughter would have stability, opportunity, the chance to be a child, pride. That's what Victoria had called it. But it wasn't pride. It was all he had left. The ability to look his daughter in the eye and say they'd made it on their own terms, except they weren't making it. Daddy. Emma stood in the hallway, face blotchy from crying. I'm sorry I yelled. Come here, baby girl. She flew into his arms, and he held her like she might disappear. I'm the one who's sorry. You're right, I do say no too much. I don't want to move, she whispered into his shoulder. This is where Mommy lived. If we leave, will I forget her? Never. She's in you, not the house. But all my measurements on the doorframe, my height every birthday. If we leave, we'll take the door. The absurd promise made her giggle through tears. I'm serious. I'll unscrew it and take it with us. They sat together on the couch, Emma curled against his side. Victoria was really rich? Very. And she wanted to help? Yes. But you said no because why? How did you explain dignity to a child who'd never had the luxury of pride? Because accepting help feels like admitting I failed you. You never failed me. Emma's fierce certainty made his eyes burn. You're the best daddy in the whole world, but even superheroes need sidekicks sometimes, from the mouths of babes. When did you get so smart? Tuesday, remember? She managed a watery smile. Daddy, is it okay to miss someone you just met? Yeah. Baby, it's okay. They made dinner together, spaghetti with butter, their end-of-month staple. Emma chatted about school, deliberately avoiding mention of Victoria, but her absence felt like a missing tooth. The kitchen seemed smaller somehow, dimmer. That night, after Emma was asleep, Marcus did something he hadn't done since Sarah's. A funeral. He cried. Not the silent tears of exhaustion, but proper sobs that shook his frame. For his failures, for his pride, for the helper he'd driven away. The eviction notice lay on the table like a ticking bomb. 7 days. He could take every shift, sell everything they owned, and it wouldn't be enough. The mathematics of poverty were inexorable. He thought of Victoria's face when he'd ordered her to leave, hurt mixed with understanding, wealth that meant nothing in the face of his rejection. She'd offered salvation, and he'd thrown it back at her, choosing prideful drowning over her life-preserver. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he whispered to the darkness. "I'm failing her. I'm failing our baby girl." Tomorrow he'd have to tell Emma they were losing the house. Tomorrow he'd have to figure out where they'd go, how they'd manage, whether his mother had room for them in her assisted living apartment. Tonight, he sat at the kitchen table and made a list of everything they could sell. His tools would bring the most, the instruments of his trade, accumulated over 20 years. Without them, he couldn't work construction, but they might buy another month. Emma's angel costume hung in the living room, Victoria's improvements, making it sparkle even in the dim light. By the Christmas play, they'd be living somewhere else. If they were lucky, still in the school district. If they weren't, Marcus Hayes had saved a billionaire's life and refused her gratitude. Now he sat in his cold kitchen, calculating the price of pride in missed meals and lost homes. The refrigerator hummed, the clock ticked, and somewhere in the Montana mountains, a bridge lay broken while the river ran on, indifferent to the small human dramas playing out along its banks. Dawn broke grey and unforgiving as Marcus made his decision. He found Emma already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with her piggy bank. "I want to help," she said simply, "for groceries or gas or whatever we need." "No, baby, that's your Christmas." "Money. Christmas doesn't matter if we don't have a home." She pushed the ceramic boot toward him. "Please, Daddy, let me help." The role reversal broke something in him. "Okay, but not for groceries, for gas. We're going to find Victoria." Emma's face transformed. "Really, really. Get dressed. We have a billionaire to track down." They started at the obvious places, the Grand Hotel, where the desk clerk's expression made it clear their kind didn't belong in the marble lobby. No Victoria Ashford registered. The Mountain View Inn, same result. 3 more hotels, each rejection chipping away at hope. "Maybe she went home," Emma suggested as they sat in the truck, quarter tank of gas now down to an eighth. "Where do billionaires live?" "I don't know, baby. The newspaper might know. They had her picture. Worth a try." The Gazette office was a narrow storefront squeezed between a pawn shop and a payday loan center. The receptionist, barely out of high school, perked up at their question. "The missing billionaire." "Oh yeah, big story. Jackson Hole, I think. Or was it Cheyenne?" She shuffled through papers. "Here, Ashford Energy headquarters is in Casper. But someone that rich probably has houses everywhere." Marcus's heart sank. Casper was 300 miles away. They had maybe 40 miles worth of gas and $17. "Thanks anyway," Emma said politely, tugging her father toward the door. Outside, she looked up at him with determined eyes. "We can't give up. Emma, be realistic. She could be anywhere." "We don't have her number, her address." "The hospital," Emma interrupted. "When someone's in an accident, they go to the hospital, right? Maybe they have records." "That's actually smart." County General's emergency department was weekend quiet. Marcus approached the desk, Emma's hand in his. "Excuse me, 3 days ago I pulled a woman from the river. Victoria Ashford. I wanted to check if she was brought here," the nurse typed efficiently. "No Ashford in our system." "When was this?" "Thursday. Morning. The bridge collapse." "Oh, I heard about that. You're the hero who saved that woman. My cousin works dispatch, said it was like something from a movie." She typed more. "No admissions from that incident. Guess you took good care of her." They walked back to the truck, hope dimming. Emma suddenly grabbed his arm. "Daddy, look!" A delivery van was parked beside them. Chang's Toy Emporium painted. On the side in cheerful letters. "That's the truck that brought the present," Emma breathed. "Remember, the toy Victoria sent after she left?" Marcus's pulse quickened. "You're sure?" "Positive. Same dragon logo." They found the driver loading boxes. "Excuse me," Marcus began. "You delivered a package to 445 Oak Street yesterday?" "Maybe. Do a lot of deliveries." "A doll? High-end? Special order?" Recognition dawned. "Oh, yeah. Lady paid triple for same-day delivery. Said it was for a brave little girl. Do you have the delivery address? Where it came from? The driver hesitated. Not supposed to share customer info. Please, Emma stepped forward. She's our friend and we lost her phone number. We just want to thank her for the gift. Something in her earnest face must have worked. Let me check the manifest. He scrolled through a tablet. Here, Mountain Sky Estate. Big place up on Eagle Ridge Road. GPS shows it's about 12 miles north. Thank you, Emma hugged the surprised driver. Thank you so much. Back in the truck, Marcus calculated. 12 miles there, 12 back. They might just make it. It's going to be close on gas, he warned. We'll make it, Emma said with absolute faith. We have to. The road to Eagle Ridge wound through increasingly expensive real estate. Mansions perched on mountainsides like architectural eagles, each one a testament to wealth Marcus couldn't fathom. The truck wheezed on the steep grade, temperature gauge creeping toward red. Come on, he muttered. Just a little further. Emma had her Christmas list in her lap. The one she'd shown Victoria. Just one line. A home for Daddy and me to stay together. Do you think she'll see us? Emma asked quietly. I don't know. What if she's still mad? Then we apologize and come home. What if she says no again about helping? Marcus glanced at his daughter. Then at least we tried. Sometimes that's all you can do. The road leveled out, revealing a gate that belonged in a movie. Stone pillars, electronic security, an intercom that probably cost more than their truck. That's it, Emma whispered. Mountain Sky Estate. Marcus pulled up to the intercom, finger hesitating over the button. Once he pushed it, there was no going back. His pride would be officially surrendered, laid down like a sword after a lost battle. It's okay, Daddy, Emma said softly. Being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing, even when you are. Where had she heard that? It sounded like something Sarah would say. He pressed the button. Silence stretched, then a crisp voice. Mountain Sky Estate. How may I help you? My name is Marcus Hayes. I'm here with my daughter Emma to see Victoria Ashford. A pause. Is Ms. Ashford expecting you? No, but please, tell her the girl from the storm is here. She'll understand. Another pause, longer this time. Marcus could feel Emma holding her breath beside him. Their gas gauge hovered just above empty. If they were turned away now, static crackled. Then, impossibly, the gates began to swing open. Please, proceed to the main house, the voice instructed. Miss Ashford will meet you at the entrance. Emma let out a whoop of joy. Marcus felt his hands shake as he put the truck in gear. They'd found her. Now came the harder part, finding the words. To bridge the chasm his pride had created. The driveway curved through manicured grounds that looked like a magazine spread. Perfect lawns, despite the winter, sculptured evergreens, a fountain that probably cost more than Marcus made in 5 years. The truck coughed apologetically, out of place among such refinement. It's like a castle, Emma whispered, nose pressed to the window. The house itself defied description, stone and glass and timber assembled into something that managed to be both imposing and elegant. Marcus parked, acutely aware of the oil stain. His truck would leave on the pristine cobblestones. Victoria stood on the front steps. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a sweater, but they fit her differently here, like she'd shed a disguise. Her face showed a complexity of emotions, surprise, hope, wariness. You came, she said softly as they approached. Emma broke free from Marcus's hand, running up the steps. We found you. Daddy said we could try, and I said we had to try, and the toy store man helped, and Emma, Marcus's voice held gentle warning. Let's maybe go inside first. Victoria's expression softened as she looked at Emma. I'm glad you're here, both of you. She gestured toward the door. Please, come in. The interior was all soaring ceilings and natural light, artwork that belonged in museums, furniture that whispered rather than shouted its expense. But what struck Marcus most was how empty it felt. Beautiful, but hollow, like a stage set, waiting for actors. Would you like something to drink? Victoria asked, formal as a stranger. Emma, I have hot chocolate. Yes, please. Emma bounced on her toes, then caught herself. I mean, thank you. They followed Victoria to a kitchen larger than Marcus's entire house. Everything gleamed, steel and marble and efficiency. She moved through it uncertainly, as if she were the visitor. As she prepared cocoa, Emma filled the silence with chatter about their search, the gas gauge adventure, how smart Daddy was to think of the hospital. Marcus watched Victoria's face, saw her walls crumbling with each enthusiastic detail. You went to all that trouble to find me? Victoria asked, setting a mug before Emma. Of course, you're our friend. Friends don't let friends disappear. Emma blew on her cocoa. Even when daddies are stubborn and say mean things they don't mean. Emma, it's true, Daddy. You were mean because you were scared. She looked at Victoria with those wise eyes. He gets growly when he's scared, like a bear protecting cubs. Victoria's laugh was shaky. That's a good way to put it. Ms. Ashford. Marcus began formally, then stopped, started again. Victoria, I owe you an apology. You don't, please. Let me say this. He gripped his coffee mug like an anchor. You offered kindness and I threw it back in your face. You wanted to help and I was too proud, too damn stubborn to accept. I made it about me when it should have been about Emma. Daddy said, damn. Emma stage whispered. Emma, why don't you go look at the fish tank in the other room? Victoria suggested gently. The orange one likes to do tricks. Once alone, Marcus continued. I've worked my whole life, built homes for other families, created security for everyone but my own daughter, and when someone finally offered to help us, I couldn't see past my own ego. It wasn't ego, Victoria said quietly. It was dignity. There's a difference. Dignity doesn't keep Emma warm. Pride doesn't fill her stomach. He pulled out the eviction notice, unfolded it on the marble counter. 7 days. That's what my pride bought us. 7 days before my daughter loses her home. Victoria studied the paper, then looked at him directly. What do you want from me, Marcus? I don't know. I knew I had to try. Emma said something this morning, that being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared. I'm terrified of failing her, of accepting help, of what it means that I can't provide. His voice cracked. But I'm more scared of what happens if I don't swallow my pride. You saved my life, Victoria said. Do you know what my life was worth saving? Before I met you and Emma, he started to protest, but she held up a hand. I was running from everything, responsibility, connections, purpose. That bridge wasn't an accident. I was driving too fast, not paying attention because I didn't care what happened. She met his eyes. Then this stranger risked everything to pull me out. His daughter made me tea and talked to me like I was worth talking to. For 2 days, I remembered what it felt like to matter. You matter, Marcus said roughly. So do you. So does Emma. And if you think I'm going to write you a check and make this transactional, you're wrong. She pulled out her phone, typed quickly. I'm buying your mortgage, not giving, buying, fair market value. Victoria, and I'm hiring you. My company needs someone to head up a new initiative, affordable housing development, someone who understands construction from the ground up, who knows what families really need. She showed him the screen, a salary that made him dizzy. It's not charity, it's business. I need someone I trust, and I trust the man who risked his life for a stranger. I don't know anything about corporate. You'll learn. I did. Her smile was wry. Turns out, running a company is like building a house. You need a strong foundation, good materials, and someone who gives a damn about the outcome. From the other room, Emma's delighted laugh echoed as she played with the fish. The sound seemed to decide something for both adults. There are conditions, Marcus said slowly. Name them. I pay back the mortgage buyout, maybe not quickly, but consistently. Agreed. I work for the salary. No special treatment, no easy passes. If I can't do the job, you fire me like anyone else. Agreed. Though I doubt that'll be necessary. And Emma, he swallowed hard. Emma needs to understand this isn't a fairy tale. That work and effort still matter. That kindness isn't a transaction. Victoria's eyes softened. Marcus, that little girl taught me more about kindness in 2 days than I learned in 30 years. I think she understands just fine. They shook hands across the marble counter, a business deal worth millions sealed with calloused palm against manicured fingers. But the real value, the restoration of hope, the bridging of worlds, the first tentative steps towards something neither could yet name, that was beyond calculation. "Victoria," Emma called. "The orange fish did a backflip. Can you teach me how to make him do it again?" "Coming," Victoria called back, then paused. "Stay for dinner, both of you. I have no idea how to cook for 3, but we could figure it out together." Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Together. Such a simple word, carrying such weight. The orange fish performed another backflip as Emma giggled, her face bright with wonder. Victoria knelt beside her, explaining the hand signals that triggered the trick, while Marcus watched from the doorway, still processing the earthquake shift. "In their lives, can we teach our goldfish to do this?" Emma asked. "We don't have a goldfish, baby," Marcus reminded her gently. "But maybe someday." She looked between both adults with hope. "When we're not worried about the house." "The house is safe," Victoria said softly. "Your daddy and I worked it out." Emma's eyes widened. "Really? We get to stay?" "We get to stay," Marcus confirmed, his throat tight. Emma launched herself at him, then pulled back to grab Victoria's hand, dragging her into the embrace. "Group hug. That's what families do when good things happen." Marcus felt Victoria stiffen slightly at the word family, then relax into the moment. Over Emma's head, their eyes met. A conversation without words. About boundaries and possibilities. "So," Emma said, pulling back, "what happens now?" "Well," Victoria began carefully, "your dad is going to come work with me. Help build homes for families who need them. Like us?" "Exactly like you." Emma considered this. "And you'll be his boss?" "So you have to be nice to him." "Emma," Marcus warned. "Actually," Victoria smiled, "he'll be running his own division. So technically he'll be the boss of lots of people." "Cool. Can I see where you work?" "If your dad says it's okay. But right now, how about we tackle dinner? I have to warn you, my cooking skills are questionable." They moved to the kitchen, Emma chattering about her specialties, peanut butter sandwiches, chocolate milk, and very fancy cheese and crackers. Victoria opened her massive refrigerator to reveal pristine emptiness, condiments, bottled water, and what might have been takeout from the previous century. "This is sadder than our fridge," Emma observed with characteristic honesty. "Emma!" Marcus scolded, but Victoria laughed. "She's right. I usually just order in or skip meals when I'm working." "Skipping meals is bad," Emma said firmly. "Daddy does it too much. Maybe you both need someone to remind you to eat." They ended up at the grocery store, a surreal expedition, where Victoria pushed the cart while Emma directed operations, and Marcus calculated costs from habit before remembering for the first time in years that he didn't have to. "Can we get the good cereal?" Emma asked, holding a box with actual fruit instead of fruit flavoring. "Get 2, Victoria suggested. 1 for your house, 1 for mine, for when you visit." In the checkout line, Emma noticed the tabloid rack. "Look, it's you!" She pointed to a gossip magazine with Victoria's corporate photo beneath the headline, "Missing Heiress, Breakdown or Breakthrough." Victoria winced, but Emma wasn't finished. "You look sad in that picture, like you're wearing a costume. That doesn't fit." "That's very perceptive," Victoria said quietly. "You look better now, more real." Emma studied her seriously. "Are you going back to being that person?" "I have to go back to work. But maybe I can be a different version." She glanced at Marcus. "A better version." Back at the estate, they prepared. Spaghetti together. Emma as head chef, Victoria as sous chef. "That's French for helper," Emma explained. And Marcus handling the garlic bread. The massive kitchen filled with warmth and laughter as Emma taught Victoria her secret technique for perfect pasta, stirring counterclockwise while humming. "This is nice," Emma announced, as they sat at the dining table that probably seated 20, but felt cozy with just the three of them. "Like a real dinner." "What makes it real?" Victoria asked. "Everyone's here, and nobody's pretending to be full, and we're talking about stuff that matters." Emma twirled her spaghetti expertly. "At Lucy's house, her parents eat at different times. Her dad watches TV and her mum's on her phone. They're in the same house, but not really together." Marcus and Victoria exchanged glances over her head. From the mouths of babes once again. "Well," Victoria said, "I vote for more real dinners, if you'll have me." "Yes," Emma bounced. "Can we do Sunday dinners? That's what families do in movies. And Thanksgiving. Oh, and Christmas. You can help with my angel costume." "Emma, slow down," Marcus interjected. "Victoria has her own life." "Actually," Victoria interrupted, "I don't. Not really. I have work and obligations and an empty house that echoes." She met Marcus's eyes. "I'd very much like to be included in Sunday dinners, if that's okay." "It's more than okay," Emma declared before Marcus could respond. "It's perfect, like when you find the puzzle piece you've been looking for, and it fits just right." After dinner, as Emma dozed on the couch with the orange fish performing lazy circles in his tank, Marcus and Victoria cleaned dishes side by side. "This is happening fast," he said quietly. "Too fast? Maybe. But Emma's right. Sometimes you find the piece that fits." He dried a plate carefully. "I spent 3 years trying to fill the hole Sarah left. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe it's not about filling it, but building something new around it." "Marcus." Victoria's voice was gentle. "I'm not trying to replace anyone. I know. That's what makes it possible." He set down the dish towel. "But we should be careful. Emma gets attached. I get attached. And your world, it's complicated. All worlds are complicated. But this?" She gestured to the warm kitchen, the sleeping child, the sense of belonging. "This feels simple." "Right." A notification buzzed on Victoria's phone. She glanced at it, sighed. "The board wants an emergency meeting. They're concerned about my erratic behavior." "What will you tell them?" "The truth, that I'm restructuring my priorities. That profit without purpose is just greed dressed up in a suit." She smiled wryly. "That I met a contractor who reminded me why we build things in the first place." From the couch, Emma stirred. "Are we going home soon?" "Yeah, baby. It's getting late. Can Victoria come for pancakes tomorrow? I want to show her how we make shapes." Victoria looked at Marcus questioningly. He nodded. "I'd love that," she said. As they prepared to leave, Emma hugged Victoria tight. "Thank you for not disappearing forever. Thank you for coming to find me." Driving home through the Montana darkness, Emma asleep in the back, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in 3 years. The weightless sensation of hope, not the desperate kind that had kept him going, but real hope, solid and warm as a well-built house. Tomorrow would bring challenges. The corporate world, the class differences, the questions about what exactly they were building together. But tonight his daughter was happy, their home was safe, and somewhere in a mansion that no longer felt empty, a billionaire was learning to make pancake shapes. Sometimes salvation came in exactly the form you never expected. 2 weeks dissolved like snow in spring, each day bringing small transformations. The morning of Emma's Christmas play dawned crisp and bright, the school auditorium buzzing with parental energy and childhood excitement. Marcus adjusted his tie. For the 4th time, the new suit feeling foreign against his skin. "Do I look ridiculous?" "You look handsome, Daddy." Emma spun in her angel costume, the improvements she and Victoria had crafted together catching the light. Real feathers bordered the wings now, and strategic sequins created halos of sparkle. With every movement, "She's right," Victoria said from the doorway, camera in hand. "Very handsome." She wore a simple dress that probably cost more than the suit, but somehow looked like it belonged in their small living room. Over the past 2 weeks, she'd developed this gift, appearing in their world without seeming like a tourist. "Pictures," Emma commanded. By the Christmas tree! They arranged themselves before the modest tree, Victoria's professionally wrapped presents mingling with Marcus and Emma's homemade offerings. The camera timer gave them 10 seconds to find their positions. Emma, in the middle, wings spread wide, her adults flanking her with careful smiles. "One more," Emma insisted, "but closer this time, like a real family photo." The word hung in the air as they pressed together, Victoria's hand finding Marcus's shoulder, his arm natural around her waist. The camera clicked, capturing something none of them were quite ready to name. At the school, Emma disappeared backstage while Marcus and Victoria found seats. The auditorium filled with families, and Marcus noticed the subtle shift in how people looked at him. Not pity anymore, but curiosity about the well-dressed woman beside him. "Nervous?" Victoria whispered. "Terrified." "You?" "Same. Is it normal to be this invested in a third-grade play?" "When it's Emma, yes." The lights dimmed and childish chaos ensued on stage. Emma entered with the angel chorus, but even among 20 white-clad 8-year-olds, she shone. Not just the costume, though it certainly helped, but something in her bearing, a confidence that hadn't been there before. "She's radiant," Victoria breathed. "She knows you're here," Marcus replied. "You and her grandmother are the only mother figures." He stopped, color rising. Victoria's hand found his in the darkness. "It's okay. I know what I am, what I'm becoming." Emma's big moment arrived. A solo about Christmas miracles, and every day. "Angels." Her clear voice carried through the auditorium. "Angels aren't just in the sky, they walk on earth like you and I. They pull us up when we fall down, they save us when we nearly drown." Marcus felt Victoria's hand tighten. She was crying silently, tears tracking down her cheeks, as Emma sang about rescue and hope and love showing up in unexpected places. "They teach us that we're not alone, that hearts can heal and love has grown. So look around, you'll see it's true, an angel might be next to you." Emma's eyes found them in the audience on the last line, her smile brighter than all her sequins combined. The play concluded to thunderous applause. Parents collected there, performers, but Emma bypassed the usual chaos to throw herself at Victoria and Marcus. "Did you see? Did you hear? I didn't forget any words. You were perfect," Victoria managed, still emotional. "Absolutely perfect. The best angel I've ever seen," Marcus added, lifting her up despite the wings. "Mrs. Collins wants to meet you." Emma told Victoria. "I told her you helped with my costume, and she said how wonderful to have parental support. And I said you're not my parent, but you're something good. And she got that face adults get when they don't understand kid logic." Victoria laughed wetly. "I'd love to meet Mrs. Collins." The introduction turned into a receiving line as other parents approached. Marcus watched Victoria navigate it with grace, deflecting questions about their relationship with gentle humor, redirecting focus to the children's performances, somehow managing to be both present and private. "She's good with people," Emma observed, appearing at his elbow with a cookie from the reception table. "When did you get so observant?" "Tuesday, probably." She grinned. "I like her, Daddy. She fits." After the reception, they drove to the community center where Marcus's construction crew had volunteered to serve Christmas dinner. Victoria had offered to fund it properly, but Marcus insisted on keeping some traditions. Neighbors helping neighbors, dignity preserved through mutual aid. "Before we go in," Victoria said, pulling 2 envelopes from her purse. "Early Christmas. Presents. Open them together." Emma tore into hers, while Marcus carefully unsealed his. Inside, plane tickets to Orlando, dated for December 26th. "Disney World!" Emma shrieked. "For real, all 3 of us?" "If your dad says yes," Victoria said carefully. "I know it's a big trip and maybe too much." "Say yes, Daddy." Emma bounced. "Please, we can see the castle and ride Space Mountain and eat Mickey waffles." Marcus looked at Victoria over Emma's head. A vacation. A real vacation, not a day trip to the lake or a movie matinee. Something he'd never been able to give his daughter. "Yes," he said quietly. "Thank you." Inside the community center, warmth. And chaos reigned. Families who'd struggled through the year together, sharing what they had, making celebration from community. Emma pulled Victoria into the serving line, showing her how to portion mashed potatoes while maintaining cheerful conversation. "This is nice," Victoria said during a quiet moment. "Different from charity galas." "How so?" "Everyone here is both. Giving and receiving. There's no hierarchy, just neighbors." Later, as they walked to the car, Emma asleep in Marcus's arms, despite declaring herself too old to be carried, Victoria spoke softly. "Thank you for including me today. Thank you for being here, for all of it. Marcus..." She stopped walking. "The board approved the housing project. First ground breaks in March. I want you to know, this isn't charity. It's not because of us, whatever us is. You're the right person for the job, I know, and he did. Just like you're the right person for Emma, for this, whatever this is." She smiled, reaching to adjust Emma's angel wing that had shifted in sleep. "We'll figure it out." "Yeah," he agreed, feeling the truth of it settle warm in his chest. "We will." Above them, stars decorated the Montana sky like scattered sequins. Emma had been right in her song. Angels walked the earth, pulling people up when they fell, teaching them they weren't alone. Sometimes they even wore designer dresses and cried at children's plays and learned to serve mashed potatoes with the proper wrist technique. Sometimes miracles looked exactly like ordinary people choosing to show up for each other again and again, until showing up became coming home. Spring arrived in Montana like a tentative guest, melting snow, revealing the bones of new beginnings. Marcus stood at the construction site, hard hat tucked under his arm, watching his crew prepare for the day's work. 6 months ago, he'd been scrambling for 20 hours a week. Now he directed a team of 30, building homes that families could actually afford. "Boss," Tommy Chen called out, Bobby's older brother, recently hired. "Inspectors here for the foundation check." "On my way." Marcus grabbed his clipboard, still marveling at how natural leadership felt when you were building something that mattered. His phone buzzed. "Victoria, breakfast?" Emma forgot her science project. He smiled, typing back, 20 minutes, order me the usual." The usual. They had regular orders at restaurants now, shared rhythms that had developed without fanfare. Victoria knew he liked his coffee black before 8 a.m., with cream after. He knew she got anxious before board meetings and needed reminders to eat. Emma knew exactly how to play them both. May's diner buzzed with morning energy. Victoria sat in their booth, back corner, good view of both doors, a habit from her CEO days that lingered. She dressed down for the construction site visit later. Jeans, steel-toed boots, a hard hat resting on the bench beside her. "You're getting good at this," Marcus said, sliding in across from her. "At breakfast. At belonging here." She smiled, pushing Emma's carefully constructed solar system across the table. "Jupiter kept falling off. I may have used industrial adhesive." "Of course you did." He examined the project, noting the precise orbital distances. "You helped her. She helped me. Did you know the Earth's axis tilts at exactly 23.5 degrees? Emma explained it while I held planets." Their food arrived, his scrambled eggs and bacon, her oatmeal that she'd actually finished now that someone noticed. 6 months of small changes, adding up to transformation. "The Mitchell house passed inspection," he told her. "Family moves in next week. That's 12 so far? 13, the Johnsons closed yesterday." He pulled out his phone, showing her photos. "Look at Emma's idea, the reading nook under the stairs. Kids love it." Victoria studied the images with genuine interest. She's got an eye for what makes a house feel like home. Wonder where she learned that. Their eyes met across the table, holding conversations they weren't quite ready to voice. The boundaries had blurred so gradually, Sunday dinners becoming Tuesday movie nights, becoming Wednesday homework help, becoming this, whatever this was. "I should tell you," Victoria said carefully. "Richard Blackstone called. He wants to discuss a partnership. Says Blackstone Industries could triple our housing output." Marcus tensed. He'd learned enough about corporate politics to recognize a threat. And I told him our model isn't about output, it's about impact, quality over quantity. She stirred her oatmeal unnecessarily. He wasn't pleased. Mentioned something about hostile takeovers being his specialty. You worried? No, well, maybe a little, but mostly, she looked up. Mostly I'm angry. We're doing good work, real work, and he sees it as just another asset to acquire. So we build faster, better, make ourselves essential to the community. We? Her smile was soft. I like when you say we. His phone rang, Emma's school. His face changed as he listened. What is it? Victoria asked when he hung up. Emma's in the nurse's office. Says her stomach hurts, but he hesitated. It's Sarah's anniversary. 3 years today. She always gets sick on this day. Go, Victoria said immediately. I'll handle the site visit. You sure? Marcus, go take care of our girl. Our girl. The words landed between them, acknowledged with a brief hand squeeze before he left. At school, Marcus found Emma curled in the nurse's office, looking small and miserable. Hey, baby girl. My stomach hurts, she whispered, but not like sick hurts, like sad hurts. I know. He gathered her up. Want to visit Mom? She nodded against his shoulder. The cemetery was peaceful, spring flowers beginning to push through. Winter's debris. Emma placed her hand-picked bouquet on Sarah's headstone, then sat cross-legged on the grass. Hi, Mommy. I'm in 3rd grade now. Almost 4th. I can do long division and know all the state capitals. She paused, picking at grass. Victoria's teaching me piano. She says I have natural rhythm. I think you'd like her. She makes Daddy smile his real smile. Marcus's throat tightened. I was scared at first. Emma continued to the stone. Scared that loving her meant forgetting you. But Victoria says love multiplies. It doesn't divide. Like math, but better. She looked up at her father. Is that true? Yeah, baby. That's true. They sat quietly, sharing memories and silence in equal measure. Finally, Emma stood, brushing off her jeans. I think Mommy would want us to be happy, she announced. And we are. Mostly, except when you and Victoria pretend you're not in love because you think I'm too young to understand. Emma, I'm almost. Daddy, I know things. She took his hand. Can we go home? Victoria's probably stress baking again. Sure enough, they found Victoria in their kitchen. Flour in her hair and cookies covering every surface. I may have overdone it, she said sheepishly. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Emma hugged her tight. Better now. We've visited Mommy. That's good. Important to remember people we love. Victoria? Emma looked up. Do you have people to remember? My parents. But, Victoria glanced at Marcus. I'm learning it's just as important to appreciate people while they're here. That evening, as they packaged cookies for the construction crew and half the neighborhood, Marcus watched Victoria and Emma debate the merits of chocolate chips versus butterscotch. The kitchen was disaster, flour on every surface, but filled. With laughter, his phone showed the plans for Sarah's Haven, the affordable housing development they'd named for her. Building something new while honoring what was lost. Emma was right, love multiplied. Daddy, your phone's buzzing, Emma called out. A text from Victoria. Board meeting tomorrow. Blackstone will be there. I could use backup. He typed back. We've got this. We. Such a small word, carrying such weight. A construction worker, a billionaire CEO, and a wise little girl, building something together that none of them could create alone. One year, Marcus stood at the rebuilt Cedar River Bridge, watching the water flow peacefully beneath the new steel and concrete structure. No more wooden timbers to rot, no more narrow passages to claim lives. The plaque beside him read, "This bridge stands as testament to the courage of ordinary people who risk everything for strangers." It's stronger now, Emma observed, testing the railing with 9-year-old skepticism, like things sometimes are after they break. Very philosophical for a Saturday morning, Victoria said, joining them. She wore Marcus's construction company, jacket over her dress, A year of board meetings hadn't erased her new practical streak. I've been thinking about metaphors. Mrs. Robertson says I have a gift for them. Emma produced a small bouquet from behind her back. These are for the river, for bringing us together. She tossed the flowers over the railing, watching them dance on the current before disappearing downstream. Such a simple gesture, but Marcus felt his throat tighten. His daughter marking moments with grace Sarah would have loved. "I have something to tell you both," Emma announced solemnly. "I've been keeping a secret." Victoria and Marcus exchanged glances. Emma's secrets usually involved unauthorized pet adoptions or elaborate birthday surprises. "I wrote to the adoption people," Emma continued, "asked what it takes for someone to become a legal guardian when they're not related, but they act like family anyway." Victoria went very still. "Emma, I know you're not trying to be my mom. My mom is my mom. Always. But you're my Victoria, and that's important too, so I researched it." She pulled folded papers from her backpack, printouts covered in highlighter marks. "You have to do background checks and home visits and lots of paperwork. But it's possible, if everyone wants it." Marcus knelt beside his daughter. "Baby girl, that's a big decision, not something to rush." "It's been a year, Daddy. That's not rushing, that's careful consideration." She used her serious voice, the one that made her sound 40 instead of 9. "I already have one parent. But having two again, that would be good. Different from before, but good." Victoria's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Emma, You don't have to decide now," Emma said quickly. "I just wanted you to know it's an option. That I'd want it, if you want it, if Daddy stops being weird about asking you to marry him." "Emma," Marcus's face burned. "What? You've had the ring. For 2 months, I saw it in your sock drawer." She turned to Victoria with exasperation. "He practices speeches in the mirror. It's very romantic, but also taking forever." Victoria laughed, bright and surprised and delighted. "He practices?" "So many practices. Last night he tried one about building foundations and love, and I told him it was too construction-themed, but he said metaphors matter, and—" "Okay," Marcus interrupted, standing. "Since my daughter has apparently decided subtlety is overrated." He reached into his pocket, pulled out the small velvet box he'd been carrying for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment that his 9-year-old had just created through sheer force of will. "Victoria!" He opened the box, revealing a simple solitaire, nothing flashy, nothing that screamed wealth. Just a promise, solid and clear. "You crashed into our lives in the worst way at the best time. You've shown me that accepting help isn't weakness, that love isn't limited, that 2 broken people can build something whole." 3 people, Emma corrected. "I was broken too, just differently." 3 people, Marcus agreed, never looking away from Victoria's face. "We're not a traditional family. We're not a simple story. But we're real. And I'd like to make it official. All of it." Victoria looked between them. This man who'd saved her life in more ways than one. This child who'd taught her how to live it. The adoption papers in Emma's hopeful hands. The ring catching morning light, like possibility itself. "I used to think I was saving you," she said softly, "with money and connections and fixes. But you saved me first, both of you. You gave me a home when all I had were houses, a family when all I had were employees." She smiled through tears. "Yes, to all of it, the marriage, the adoption, the construction-themed metaphors, yes." Emma whooped, launching herself at both adults. They stood there on the bridge where it all began, holding each other while the river ran on below, indifferent to the small human miracles playing out above. 2 weeks later, they signed papers in a judge's chambers. Adoption proceedings that made Emma officially, legally, what she'd already been in every way that mattered. The wedding would come later, a community celebration at the center they'd helped rebuild. But this moment was theirs alone, a construction worker, a CEO, and a little girl who'd wished on birthday candles for exactly this. "Are you happy, Marcus?" asked Emma as they left the courthouse. "So happy," she confirmed, "but also hungry. Can we get pizza?" I want to try that peanut butter pizza you mentioned, Victoria said, taking Emma's hand. Really? Emma's face lit up. Most adults think it's weird. We're not most adults, Victoria reminded her. We're family. Weird is kind of our thing. As they walked toward the pizza place, Emma between them, hands linked like an unbreakable chain, Marcus thought about bridges. How sometimes they collapsed. How sometimes that collapse led you exactly where you needed to be. How the rebuilt version could be stronger than the original ever was. His phone buzzed. Another family approved for Sarah's haven. 23 houses built. 40 more in progress. Each one a bridge between desperation and hope. Daddy's smiling his real smile again, Emma Stage whispered to Victoria. I know, Victoria whispered back. It's my favorite. The pizza shop door chimed as they entered, just another family grabbing. Lunch on a Saturday. Nothing special about them except everything, the way they fit together, the way love had multiplied instead of divided, the way broken pieces had built something beautiful and strange and absolutely perfect. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the town in fresh white. Inside, Emma explained her peanut butter pizza theory, while her parents listened with the grave attention due to all 9-year-old philosophers. Somewhere in the Montana mountains, a bridge stood strong over peaceful water. And in a pizza shop that served questionable combinations, a family that shouldn't have worked but did anyway shared their happily ever after, one improbable slice at a time.